Welcome, everybody, live on a late Thursday night in Cleveland, Ohio, where, as you all know, if you're living in the area or if you watch the game, it is snowing. Yes, it's been a gorgeous fall. It was 60 degrees yesterday morning. But hey, if we've learned anything living in Northeast Ohio, and I may not have lived here as long as some of you, but I've been here a long time now, is that 60 degrees one day and snow the next, and wind and rain and all within a 24, 48-hour period, that's par for the course. That makes us tougher. Coming up later in this live show was tonight an example of why the Browns should not get a dome and should stay on the lake with the elements. We'll get to all of that. Of course, you're in the bullpen with Adam the Bull. This show, as always, is brought to you by Bet Rivers. 2 live shows in about 10 hours. Dustin will join me. We'll have an episode of the Bull and Fox here in the bullpen at 9:30 tomorrow morning. As you see there, the Browns, who have had a miserable season now, 3-8, and their last 2 wins over the Ravens and the Steelers. I'd say it's crazy, but yeah, we've seen crazier things before. The Browns, who have looked awful against almost every other team, have played very well against both the Steelers and the Ravens, 2 teams that are well on their way to the postseason. The final there, 24-19. If you watched it, you know what kind of a crazy game it was. Back and forth momentum swings, and eventually the Browns pull it out after it looked like they blew it. You go back to early in the game. The Steelers really – the Steelers did a lot of Brownsy-type things early in this game. The Steelers were moving the ball in their first 3 drives up and down the field. In fact, they had let's see. If my eyes were still working. Man, my eyes stink now. I got to get my eyes together here. They had about 125, 30 yards of offense on their first 3 drives. Missed field goal on a 58-yard try, which I was really surprised in this weather that Mike Tomlin, I know their kicker is great. He's, maybe the best in the NFL right now. But a 58-yard field goal in this stadium with this weather, no matter how good your kicker is, unless it's to win a game and you have no other choice, I don't get it. But that's exactly what happened. The Browns did nothing on their first drive. Steelers got it again. They were moving the ball again. The Browns stop them on a 4th down play, which was a really odd play call, I thought, by Mike Tomlin. It was so telegraphed, I thought, in that situation. But again, the Browns can't do anything with the great field position. 3 and out, goodbye. Steelers get the ball again. Again, they move it down the field. This time they make a field goal. But at that point, when the Steelers scored, we're into the second quarter. There's about 11 minutes to go in the second quarter. And I tweeted out there, Steelers dominating, but only up 3 points. They got to be pretty pissed. And ultimately, that cost – listen, the game was back and forth. I don't know if ultimately it cost them the game, but it certainly seemed like it because it felt early that the Steelers really could have put away the Browns. It didn't happen. And from there on, the game certainly changed. The Browns, who couldn't move the ball in their first 2 drives, excuse me. Ooh, a little violent coughing here. The Browns, who couldn't move the ball in the first 2 drives, get the ball back for the 3rd time, as I said, with just under 11 minutes to go. And finally, Jameis got them going. And after the first 2 drives, they were trying to run the ball with Nick Chubb, who obviously had an impact in this game later. We'll get to that. But early, first 2 drives, they were mostly running the ball, couldn't get much of anything going. This 3rd drive, they decide to throw it on 1st down, and Jameis Winston hits Jerry Jeudy, who had another good game. 2 weeks in a row, Jerry Jeudy's played really well. And that kind of got the offense going a little bit. He went right back to Jeudy on the next play, and the Browns were looking at a 2nd and short. Then Nick Chubb got it going. There was a good mix of pass and run after that. The Browns got it to a 3rd and 7. They were terrible on 3rd down all game, but they did a great job on 4th down. The 3rd and 7 pass from Jameis to Elijah Moore fell just short. And on the 4th and 1 play from the Steelers' 16-yard line, Nick Chubb gets 5 yards on that play. 1st down, 2 plays later, touchdown for the Browns as Nick Chubb goes over the right guard, Wyatt Teller, and the Browns have their first lead of the game, up 7-3 after the extra point. Then they get the ball right back on a fumble. Myles Garrett forces the fumble, a sack fumble of Russell Wilson. Myles Garrett played a great game for the Browns. Meanwhile, I don't know, and I'd like you to respond in the chat right now. Does anybody know? I know the weather was bad. Does anybody know if JJ's little brother made it to Brown Stadium tonight? Please respond in the chat right now, and I will read some of the responses because I don't know. I expected him to have a big impact in this game, and I'm not being a wise guy. I'm not sure if JJ's little brother actually made it to the game. I didn't see him out there. Please correct. I hate to make a mistake on the air. So if I'm mistaken and JJ's little brother actually did play, please let me know because I'd hate to, really screw that up. Let's see. Creative Juice TJ Ware. Yeah, I guess Hunter says, I think he missed the flight. Maybe that's what happened. Did they fly from Pittsburgh? Wouldn't they drive? I don't know. I guess they would fly. They're football players. George TJ was building a snowman with JJ on the sideline. Okay. They needed some brotherly time instead of playing. I can understand that. Marinko says, TJ, what? Let's see. Matt says he had to be there because they showed him on the sideline. I don't know, Matt. I'm not sure. Kevin said he sat the game on the bench. Shadow said he was trapped at Dick's Sporting Goods. Appropriate name for him. John said, not sure, but TJ's daddy was there. Solo says they did take the bus. Dave says, I thought I saw him, but it turned out to be Sasquatch. There's a possibility. I think we saw more of Sasquatch today. By the way, a couple of those extra points and field goals late, I could not on TV see the ball at all. I had no clue. No clue if those balls went through the uprights. Oh, Dave says the Zamboni got him at a Penguins game. That's interesting. Maybe that's why he didn't play. I was surprised they didn't talk about it on the broadcast a little more. Well, whatever. Good for him. Browns would get the field goal after Myles Garrett forced a turnover. Browns up 10-3 at the half. Browns got moving on that first drive of the second half, but then Cedric Tillman fumbles. And once again, the Browns are able to stop him. I thought early, I tweeted early that the Steelers were dominating the game. And a couple people said to me, well, the Browns defense is playing great. I didn't think they were playing great early. They made a couple of big plays, but the Steelers were moving the ball. But then the defense really locked down after that. And even after the Browns fumbled, they stop them again. The Steelers with a weird play call, going for it on fourth down. Very un-Tomlin-like to go for that in that situation. I don't mind going for it. I'm not going to rip them for it, but it's out of character. And I just thought the play calling was pretty bad for the Steelers on fourth down. So they stop them, but the Browns quick 3 and out. Steelers get it back. They have a long drive. It was a really long drive. It took over 7 minutes of the third quarter. But the Steelers have to settle for a field goal. First, they get the first down on 4th and 1 when Russell Wilson hits Pat Freiermuth. And do you think, and by the way, I get it. I can't really be, I'm kind of pulling in a way, I'm pulling a Browns defensive players celebrating when you're losing. by making fun of the Steelers when they're 5 games ahead of the Browns. But you know what? We don't have the opportunity very often, so I'm going to take advantage of it in this moment. Is Pat Freiermuth worthy of a chant? I mean, Steeler fans, I understand when they, have chanted for their great players in the past. Yes, okay, Terry Bradshaw is the most overrated quarterback in the history of football. Nobody's denying that. But at least he was worthy of a chant. Some of these other guys have been. But the Steelers have had some lame chants, Heath Miller, Pat Freiermuth. He's not worthy of a chant. But anyway, he did make a nice play there, got a first down. But the Steelers, again, very Browns-esque. They fumbled the ball. They did recover. Penalties pushed them back, and they ended up having to kick a field goal. That made it 10-6. Then the Browns get the ball after the Steelers had made it a 4-point game late in the third quarter, and they had a fantastic drive, 10 plays, 65 yards in just under 5 minutes. It starts with that crazy crazy pass to Blake Whiteheart. I'm saying Blake Whiteheart. I'm not even sure his first name's Blake. I think it's Blake, right? Yeah, Blake Whiteheart. The third-string tight end who we've talked about oddly on UCSS a couple of times. He made that was a great catch on that first down play, and that got that drive going because one play they're in, maybe not field goal range, but they got into Steeler territory. And then Nick Chubb got going a little bit, and then the completion to Tillman on third and short. They start the fourth quarter with a 4th and 1 play. They go for it again. The Steelers struggled on 4th down. The Browns did not. Browns terrible on 3rd down, but got it done on 4th down. And on the 4th and 1 play, Nick Chubb gets 4 big yards. You look at his total stats there for Nick Chubb. They don't look amazing. 20 carries, 59 yards is obviously not great. It's less than 3 yards per carry. But he had some big runs there. It was a tough game. The Steelers are, for all I'm making fun of, we know how good they are defensively. They are not an easy team to run on. I think they're 4th in the NFL coming into this game. And they only gave up 85 yards rushing. So they did a great job. The Browns only barely had over 300 yards of total offense in this one. But Nick Chubb had some key runs in key moments. And he got the first down on the 4th and 1 at the 27. And then, and then the Browns, obviously, they scored the touchdown on 4th down after David Njoku drops and that really sums up David Njoku, kind of. Like, he'll have the drop on what seems like an easy play, and then on the 2-point conversion, after Jameis makes that unbelievable run to score the touchdown, David Njoku makes an almost impossible catch to get the 2-point conversion. That I want to talk about that run, though, to Jameis. And obviously between that and the 2-point conversion, it gave the Browns an 18-6 lead at the time. That was a fucking ballsy run by Jameis Winston. Listen, we got into it this week. Sean King is convinced that Jameis Winston is the guy for the Browns. And, I said I don't buy him as a top 15 quarterback. Now, he's played well in 3 or 4 games, and I got no problem if the Browns want to use him as a bridge quarterback. We'll see how long till they can get somebody better. But it's hard not to like what Jameis has done. He's playing well right now, and I understand there's probably some people that want to see DTR play. I don't. There's no way you could do that coming off this win. You got to keep playing Jameis. If they had lost today, maybe. But even though the Browns are not going to the playoffs, we know this. Until you're officially eliminated, I'm going to keep trying to win. I'm going to keep playing my best guy, and that's Jameis. Jameis has done a good job, a very good job. He's clearly been a huge upgrade over Deshaun Watson. And that run there, that 2-yard touchdown run, I thought that was tough. I mean, it's crazy weather. It's freezing. It's snowing. It's 4th down. You don't get that. They get the ball back, and they're only down 4 points. And he had to break through some tackles and avoid slipping. So I was really impressed. And that they get the 2-pointers. They're up 18-6. Now, the Steelers come right back after that. And they had their best drive of the night. Started at their own 31. The big play on the drive was the first play. Not the first play. It was the second play. On second down, Justin Fields comes in and gave him a lift. He ran the read option down the sideline, and he went for 30 yards. So the Steelers were able to flip the field. Eventually, they got in on a first and goal at the 3. It was first and goal at the 5, and then the stupid penalty by Delpit. I don't know what the hell he was thinking there. That was really dumb. But then they get Jaylen Warren in the end zone on first and goal at the 3. They kick the extra point, and now it is 18-13. Right? My math correct? Yeah, it was 18-13. It's so bizarre because a lot of you know Guy Cleve, TA, on Twitter. We reference him from time to time. He's like a local guy who really knows football well. He knows, he's a big analytics guy, has a website. Does a great job. And TA goes, he tweeted after the Steelers scored the touchdown to make it 18-13. He goes, I don't remember his exact tweet, but it was basically like, there's some Tomlin voodoo here. I could see a Browns fumble coming up. And, of course, 2 plays later, Jameis Winston, sack, fumble, and the Steelers get it right back. And 3 plays after that, Russell Wilson hits Calvin Austin for a 23-yard touchdown, and the Steelers have the lead. I mean, it turned around just like that. It looked like at 18-6, the Browns had things in hand, had the game in hand. There's 12 minutes left to the game, and if the Steelers blew opportunities early and the way the weather was, you thought, okay, 12 points, they're in great shape to win this game. But touchdown, fumble, quick touchdown, now all of a sudden the Steelers have the lead. Now they don't get the 2-point conversion. Ultimately, it didn't matter. But they're up 19-18. Then the Browns get it back. The Steelers eventually, so the Browns got it back, and they did move it down the field. A couple of big plays, including another long completion to Jerry Jeudy for 28 yards, had the ball at the Steeler 38-yard line. But on third down and long, on a second down play, Jameis almost got picked on a pass to David Njoku, and then he makes a terrible throw on a pass intended for Elijah Moore. It gets picked off. And so now there's 4:22 to go. You've blown an 18-6 lead. It's 19-18. And at this point, I'm sure you were all like me thinking, well, here we go again. The Browns found a way to blow another game. But they didn't. With 4:22 to go, the defense that had mostly played well in this game, especially after the first quarter, stood up and stopped them 3 and out. Najee Harris set him up with a third and manageable 4. Fields tried to hit Pickens. They went deep on that 3rd and 4 play. I thought that was a little surprising that they went deep there in the weather in that situation, because the first down, I'm not saying the game's over with a first down, but it would have been trouble, certainly. They go deep. They don't get it. And then their punter shanks it. And he only goes 15 yards. So not only do the Browns get it back, not only is there still plenty of time, 3:29, but the Browns get great field position to start their next drive, starting at the Pittsburgh 46. You don't even need a touchdown. You need a field goal, but obviously the Browns don't want to settle for a field goal. They had to overcome 2 fourth downs on this drive. Early in the drive, on a 4th and 3, Jameis hits Jerry Jeudy on a short pass for 5 yards for a first down. He gets stopped. They get stopped there. The game's probably over. And then again, the Browns have a 3rd and 2, Jameis incomplete. And that's when it was an interesting situation. So it was 3rd and 1, actually. 3rd and 1. And Jameis throws it incomplete. It looks like it's going to be 4th and 1. But there's a penalty. I thought, now the Browns got lucky there. that Jameis didn't get called for intentional grounding. Instead, it was an illegal touching of the pass, because intentional grounding, they would have been backed up another 10 yards. And that might have been it again. There was so many times where it could have been it for the Browns, but it wasn't. Instead, it's a 5-yard penalty, and Mike Tomlin's got to decide, okay, do I decline the penalty, which he initially did, and then it's 4th and 1 at the 24, or do I take the penalty, which he ended up doing, and it's 3rd and 6 at the 29? I think you can go either way with that. He decided in the end to take the penalty. And once again, Jerry Jeudy came up big from Winston. Good pass to the Pittsburgh 14-yard line. Nick Chubb gets it down to the 7 and then goes into the end zone for a touchdown with less than a minute to go. The Steelers were able to move the ball down the field to 24-19 after the Browns missed a 2-point conversion. But the Hail Mary into the end zone gets knocked down by the Browns, and they hold on for a wild and exciting 24-19 victory. Statistically, not a lot of great performances in this one. Nick Chubb did have 2 touchdowns, but 20 carries for 59 yards. Jameis, statistically, not a particularly good game, but he made some clutch plays. 18 of 27, 219, no touchdowns and a pick. Jerry Jeudy had a good game, caught all 6 of his targets for 85 yards. For Pittsburgh, Jaylen Warren was their leading rusher, 11 carries, 45 yards, and a touchdown. Russell Wilson won 21 of 28, 270 and a touchdown. Najee Harris, 16 for 41. And Calvin Austin, their leading receiver, 3 for 78 and a touchdown. But the defense was mostly the story. Grant Delpit had a really bad penalty, but I thought he played a pretty good game besides that. I'll give Juan Thornhill credit. I thought he played pretty well in this game, and I haven't said that very often. 3 sacks for Myles Garrett. It was a big game for him. He was a huge factor in this game. Obviously, I was making fun of T.J. Watt earlier. He did have 1 tackle for a loss, but no sack. In fact, the Steelers only the sack fumble by Herbig of Winston was the only sack. The offensive line, even though they continue to struggle in the run game, the offensive line did a great job protecting for Winston in this weather against a Steeler D-line we know can get to the quarterback. As I talked about earlier, J.J. Watt was a non-factor in this game. The 1 tackle for a loss, I believe, was a running play, if I remember correctly, but a non-factor absolutely in this game. Great game for Myles Garrett. He, as I said, 3 of the Browns' 4 sacks. Jordan Hicks had the other. He had 2 tackles for another tackle for a loss as well, so good job by him. A couple of nice plays by Shelby Harris. I thought Maurice Hurst made an impact in this game. Overall, good effort. I mean, it's one of maybe the Browns' best game of the year. I thought they played, decently on both sides. I thought they played well on defense and they played okay on offense in this game. Not great. And again, Jameis wasn't great, but he made some key plays. I don't believe they win this game with Deshaun Watson. I don't believe they win this game with DTR. And that's with, again, Watson not putting up particularly big numbers, but there's more to the numbers, right? In this particular last week, he put up huge numbers. They got crushed against the worst team. I'm not saying he played bad. He didn't, but he made clutch plays when he needed to. He hit a couple of big passes to Jerry Jeudy, the big touchdown run that he had. And he's not a big runner, as we know, but he made some really clutch plays in this one. So nice win for the Browns. They improved to 3-8. Get a long stretch of off days here because they don't play again until not this coming Monday, but the following Monday, December the 2nd. So the Browns playing consecutive night games. We'll have a really close to a full bye here because they don't play again, as I said, till the Broncos on Monday the 2nd of December. So they got a nice rest here. And after that, they'll play the Steelers again before having to play the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Dolphins, and the Ravens to wrap it up. The next 2 games are at home, on the road. Browns won't be home again until they play the Chiefs on December the 15th. So that's it. But they get the job done today. Let me read some of the messages from folks on the YouTube chat. Let's see. Sir Megatroid says the Watson failed experiment over. DTR not viable next year. Elliot says, "Hey Adam, long-term viewer but for the first time, hello. Keep up the great job, Elliot, Canadian Browns fan." Thank you, Elliot. John, yes, they are putting the Browns on Monday Night Football. Hunter says I'm the GOAT. I appreciate that, Hunter. Thanks, buddy. Dave, the offensive line played well. Yeah, I was happy about it. John says, nice win for the Browns. It certainly was. Listen, I know it probably doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things of the season. And earlier today I said, yeah, well, I'd rather get the first pick than win this game. But ultimately, when you're watching a game, you want your team to win. It's easy to say it emotionless earlier in the day. But once you're watching the game, you want the team to win. You want the Browns to win. And I like that, Kevin Stefanski's been crushed this year, deservedly so. I've had his back for 4 years, and I've been killing him this year, deservedly so. And while I have not advocated to fire him, I have said that I think they should change GMs, and if that GM wanted another coach, I'd be okay with it. But I would like Kevin Stefanski to stay in a perfect world. I don't know if I said it here or I said it on UCSS recently. I'd love to see John Dorsey come back as GM and keep Kevin Stefanski as the coach. I don't know that will happen, but I'd like to see it happen. But that's not my call. Now, there were multiple reports today, including from Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport. In fact, Ian Rappaport and then Albert Breer this evening all said, hey, the Browns are not changing anything. They're not firing Stefanski. They're not firing Andrew Berry. Now, it's early. But if the Browns play better down the stretch, those guys are going to have a better chance of keeping their job, especially Kevin Stefanski. And in a perfect world, I know I might be in the minority opinion. I would like to see Kevin Stefanski keep his job. I don't feel that way about Andrew Berry. Let's see. Tony Graber. I love Nick Chubb. Roberts is one of the best football games I've seen in a long time. Now, why couldn't the Browns play like that all year, winning in the last 2 minutes? That's why I call them the Cardiac Kids. Yeah, listen, every week's a different week. Division games are always challenging no matter what your record is. They actually have a winning record in the division. They're 2-1 right now. I know there's always a few people that get confused by this. Even if you end up with the best record in your division, you don't go to the playoffs. There's always somebody confused about that every year. Right now, the Browns have the best divisional record. They're 2-1 in the division. The Steelers are 1-1. The Ravens are 2-2. The Bengals are 1-2. So there's somebody out there that thinks the Browns would be division winners right now because they're 2-1 in the division. I know that sounds crazy, but some people are confused by that. But it doesn't matter. The division record only matters as a tiebreaker, not as to who would win the division. It's still who has the best overall record. But for this day, it was fun to watch the Cleveland Browns. It was fun to watch Jameis. It was fun to see Nick Chubb get in the end zone twice against the team that injured him last year. By the way, I didn't like that play early where Nick Chubb kind of got thrown down after the whistle. I know they rarely call a penalty on those situations, but that seemed excessive. I thought they should have thrown a penalty. And I was a little disappointed that none of the Browns, especially offensive linemen, went after that player. Like, you got to protect Nick Chubb. I know he can take care of himself, but I would like to see some of the offensive linemen like kind of get into the Steeler. I don't remember who the player was that threw him down late, but I didn't like that. That pissed me off. And I was a little disappointed that the Browns players weren't more pissed off by that. Let's see. Let's read a couple of more. Dave says, Browns are one of the trenches, which surprises me. Good on them. Z says, no dome. Love the Snow Bowl. Yeah, did watching today, yeah, it's funny. I've said it would be cool for the Browns to have a dome, and I'm in favor of a dome. But I don't ever go to the games. I need to watch at home because I'm going to do a post-game show, and I need my replays and all that. I don't like going to football games, so I don't care. I mean, I think despite tonight's exciting game and the coolness of the snow, I think most fans would still prefer a dome. But I get it. There's something to be said for playing in those conditions. It's really cool. It's fun to watch at home. I don't know if it's fun to be there. And by the way, those people with no shirts, I know one of them looked like Ken Carman. I think one of them looked a little like me. That was not Ken Carman. It was not me. It is crazy. I know you want to be tough and crazy and wild. Being out in this weather with no shirt is pretty stupid. But, we all did that crazy shit when we were younger, right? Let's see. Edward says, Winston said this is true football weather. I mean, thank you, Captain Obvious. Kyle, how do you feel about the Judy contract at this point? I mean, it's all right, I guess. They paid him like a good number 2, and at least the last 2 weeks he's been that. I still don't think Judy's great. He's very inconsistent. He's always been inconsistent, but he's played much better lately, so I'll give him his credit. Mr. I Crap and Shits, great way to end your week on UCSS. Plus, love that my name makes you laugh when McNuggets reads it out loud. It is funny. It's funny. Stone Buckeye, love you, Bull. Great win, go Browns. Thank you, Stone Buckeye. Go Browns. Chris says Dorsey don't fit, in my opinion. You talking about John Dorsey, Chris? I don't know. I think he could. I would like him to be here. He still got it wrong with Baker. Should have drafted Lamar or Allen, but overall he did the best job of any GM we've had. But I don't think they're going to go back. And they may not fire Berry, even though a lot of us want him to. So, let's see. Jeffrey Champion. So Jameis continues to play well. Do you bring him back for 2 years? I would not sign him to a 2-year deal. I'd bring him back for next year. Now, the only way I'd consider signing, I would not sign him for 2 years. He's been too inconsistent in his career. Like, I love what he's doing. I don't want to downplay it, but you can't judge a guy who has a long track record based only on a few games. He's been too inconsistent in his career. And so I don't want to lock into him anything long-term. I'd give him a 1-year deal. Nobody's given him a long-term deal. Now, if he plays great for another 6 games, maybe that changes. But I don't see it. Maybe. Teams, for all their flaws, don't usually get conned as much as fans do. We do have somebody saying playoffs. I love it. It's not going to happen, but I love the optimism. As long as you have a chance, the team should still be trying to get to the postseason. Victor says 1 game at a time, playoffs at 9-8. Let's see. Okay, a couple more here. Christopher says quarterbacks this year aren't great. Yeah, that's why I'd bring back Jameis. I don't know that the Browns are going to draft a quarterback. I don't know if there's a better option. Right now, if the Browns, I don't know enough about the college quarterbacks. Everybody tells me none of them are sure things. The Browns, after winning today, you feel like, okay, they probably won't have a top 2 or 3 pick. So if they're picking 6 or 7 or 8 or 4 or 5, like, are you going to take the 3rd quarterback in the draft? Is there another veteran that's a better option? I mean, these decisions will happen at the end of the year. We don't need to make them right now. But I think it is reasonable, especially the way he's played, to think that Jameis, at least for next year, could be in the mix to be their starter. John says, thanks for doing the show, Bull. This gives us a chance to listen and to chat. Thank you, John. Thank you for being here. Marvin says, especially happy for Chubb to get this win. Had to mean a lot to him. Absolutely. Getting the touchdowns, getting the win against the Steelers, no doubt, after how his season ended last year. Hunter, you taking Jameis over Bo Nix? I'm not. Come on now. Bo Nix is 8 years younger, and he's playing great as a rookie. Tony says, I think Watson will not be back next year. Well, he might be back technically, but Deshaun Watson is done as a starting quarterback for the Browns and maybe done, period, as in the NFL, I think. Dave says, best postgame show in the NFL. Thank you, Dave. Irish Spaghetti says, Heath Miller. To be fair, Heath Miller was better than Freiermuth. That's true. Victor, leaving Watson in early in the season put us behind the 8 ball. Yeah, that's fair. Amex says, great show, Bull. Keep it going strong. Thank you. Dav Dog, Bull, I'm not a Jameis hater. That's unfair. I know Sean King said it yesterday. I love Sean. He doesn't love his breakdowns. I'm not a hater. I'm just not convinced he's a long-term answer. And we got to stop being conned by 3 or 4 games. listen, if he ends up being the long-term answer, great. I hope he does. I hope they don't have to search for another quarterback. I'm not ready to go all in for years and years on Jameis when in his career he's been completely inconsistent. Let's see how the rest of the season plays out. I'm in with him being, at the very least, in the mix to be the starter next year. He may be the best option. I just don't want to talk about a long-term extension after 4 games, 3 that he's, 2 that he's played very well, 1 that he's played pretty well, and the 4th he did not play well. So one step at a time. That's all I'm saying. Let's see. No Amusement Sports Show says, Adam the Bull, I want you to dress as the Frog for the Cavs game. Can you do it? No. I will not dress as the Frog for the Cavs game. Marvin says he expects Judy to have a huge game against Denver. Should be a good game. That'd be a revenge game there, of course. Dav Dog says, okay, at least we agree on Berry. Keegan, do we re-sign Jameis? I would, if right now, based on what I think the options are going to be, yeah, I'd probably want to re-sign Jameis for a year. Could you talk me into 2 years by the end of the season if the rest of the year goes well? Sure. It's possible. Let's just see. We don't need to sign him now. There's no rush. Let's see. Christopher Walls, why do you assume Allen and Lamar develop here? This place was a mess. The fact that Baker has survived is testament to him. Hey, listen, Baker's doing a nice job in Tampa. I think the great quarterbacks develop anywhere. Joe Burrow went to a terrible situation in Cincinnati. And he was great because he's a great player. Allen and Lamar are great players. Now with Lamar, you got to have the right system, so I guess that's possible. But I believe in Kevin Stefanski enough. I think they would have been great here. Yes, I believe that. We'll never know. G. Bush's bad neck. Good to hear from him in the podcast. Bull, no more Miles trade talk. You don't trade that. Love you, Bull. Okay, yeah, well, no. I'm not going to trade Miles. Steven, how's Cooper playing now? Good trade? I mean, you got a late draft pick for a good player, so I don't love the trade. But, I shouldn't say that. They didn't get anything back. I'm not going to say it's a good trade. Cooper was banged up. I don't know what he did this past week. I can't remember. But from what I heard recently, they needed to get rid of him, so I'm fine with it. Let's see. What do we got? A couple more. Edward Cleveland. This is for you. Wade, you rock, Bull. The Browns rock, you silly boy. Wade. Fitz, keep it simple. I hope you motivated DeJuan. I know he's motivated me, so I hope. I wish nothing but the best for DeJuan. Lego D, get rid of D Podesta. Agree. Chris, TJ can't play without Highsmith. I was busting his balls earlier, and it was fun to make fun of him, but I don't buy that. Dav DG, this one was different. Turning point in the season. Great win. I'm not buying it's going to be a turning point in the season, but let's hope. All right, folks. Thanks to Max and Z for producing. Thanks to all of you for joining me. I really appreciate it, as always. I know it's late at night. Wow. I didn't realize it was 12:30. Been going for 40 minutes. All right, I love you all. But I'll be back in exactly 9 hours from right now. I will retake the airwaves. Dustin Fox, a Bull and Fox edition of the Bullpen. So rejoin me and Dustin exactly 9 hours from now. And then in exactly 10 and a half hours, I'll be back on the Friday edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. So if you like me, you got a lot more of me coming up. 9 hours from right now, I'll be back live. Until then, we'll talk to you next time. Where else but right here in the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers. See you, everybody.